Greetings and welcome to the Saco City Council meeting for Monday, April 10, 2023. I call this meeting to order at 6:30 p.m. Let the record reflect that all councilors are present. With that, we'd like to invite you all to join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Up next is item 4 under general this evening. We have a very special recognition this evening, and that is item A, to recognize Thornton Academy hockey team, who many of them are here tonight in the audience, so thank you. I'm going to read a little bit, and then we're going to present a certificate, and then we'd like to have you up for a picture with the council. So I apologize for any names I mispronounce. I'll do my best. So state champions, the TA hockey team, congratulations. This year, for the second consecutive season, the team received the Maine Principals Association Sportsmanship Award, becoming the first team to win the Sportsmanship Award and state championship in the same season. The team had an overall record of 17-4, outscoring opponents 86-35 in this season. The team consists of Porter Kraus, Jake Marcotte, Lucas Hubbard, captain, Kyle Lossier, captain, Cam Sear, Brady Corson, Evan Baudette, captain, Gavin Corson, Alex Alonzo, Gavin Pellerin, Braden Duane, Thomas Verrilt, Jake Skillings, Trevor Perry, Shane Bergeron, Eric Butts, Rychin Corsetti, Jake Florent, Heath McLean, Brady Pecora, Cash Adams, Drew Johnson, and for the coaching staff, Jamie Gagnon, Sean Picard, Travis Ramsey, Marty Adams, and Robbie Downing. The City of Saco recognizes the Thornton Academy hockey team for their victory in the state championship awarded this 10th day of April 2023 by Saco Mayor William Doyle. Congratulations. With that, we'd like to invite you up for a picture. If you can come up in front of the dais and then face the audience. Councilors, if you can join. City Administrator, love to have you in the picture as well.
Got to get these guys on over. Mayor, do you want to go over? All right, if I can get everyone here. 1, 2, 3. We'll do one more. 1, 2, 3.
Thank you again, and congratulations. With that, we'll move on to item 5 of the agenda, and that is committee correspondence to council. Any committee correspondence this evening? No committee correspondence. Moving on to Item 6, public comment. If there's any member of the public who would like to address the city council, please come forward and be heard. Please come forward and be heard. State your name and address for the record, and please speak directly into the microphone, and please keep your comments to 3 minutes.
No problem. Good evening. My name is Alan Waugh. I'm one of the owners of Hewitt Seafood in Camp Ellis. I was just coming here to discuss with the board of the committee, essentially us being able to get the trolley back down into the Camp Ellis community. I've met with some people in the town. I know I've met with Tracy, the new person who's in charge of economic development. I've met with Emily. I've met with Brian. And we feel like getting Camp Ellis back to where it used to be is a very important thing, and especially now being the new owners of of Hewitt's in Camp Ellis, we want to be an anchor tenant there. And talking to some people, I feel like we contribute so much money of our taxes to the trolley system, and I've heard different reasons why they didn't do it for the past couple of years. I feel like some of those reasons were valid, but at the same time, I feel like we need to really make a push in order to have that come back. So I just wanted to come down here and let everyone know how excited we are to be opening up for this season, but also how important it is to kind of bring back economic development to the Camp Ellis community. So that's all I got.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
If there's any other members of the public that would like to speak to the council, please come forward and be heard. Nobody seeking recognition. Moving on to item 7 of the agenda, and that is approval of the meeting minutes for April 3rd, 2023. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Councilor Hatch, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor McPhail. Any discussion on the minutes for April 3rd, 2023? Roll call vote on the minutes. Councilor Archer.
Aye.
Councilor Purdy.
Yes.
Councilor Gunn.
Yes.
Councilor Berman.
Yes.
Councilor Hatch.
Yes.
Councilor McPhail.
Yes.
Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to approve the minutes. That brings us to item 8, consent items, and there are 2 consent agenda items. Item A is to confirm mayor's appointment to the planning board of Glen Charette, and item B is application for a solid waste permit for AgriCycle. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Councilor Berman, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Hatch. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Would anyone like to remove anything? On the consent agenda as is, roll call vote. Councilor Archer.
Aye.
Councilor Purdy.
Yes.
Councilor Gunn.
Yes.
Councilor Berman.
Yes.
Councilor Hatch.
Yes.
Councilor McPhail.
Yes.
Councilor Johnston.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to approve the consent agenda. That brings us to item 9, action items, and we start the item A with the fiscal year 2024 budget presentations. And we'll take them in order, and we'll begin with information technology. And we'll hear from Director Ryan Pinero.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Welcome to the presentation of the Information Technology Department. So when I was pulling numbers, it made the most sense to pull from January 1 until December 31st, 2022. During that time, the IT help desk support had 1,792 requests for that year timeframe. That's a 19% increase over the previous year. So the primary reason for the increases this year has been from our automation of events that happened on our computers. So we're looking at resource overuse, we're looking at hard drives that are increasing, we're looking at services stopping. So we're getting this information before the users are getting them, and typically repairing any problems before they even notice any of those things happening. We're also adding additional automation for when our servers come to certain periods of time frame where we're rebooting them, so we stay on track with all of our maintenance efforts for our hardware as well as our software servers. So support resolution, this is the time that it takes us to resolve any support issues that are put in by users. 85% of all of our tickets are resolved within 24 hours. So realistically, you could take that to about 8 hours because of the day that we're at work. And then 68.5% are closed within 5 hours. So we've been doing user surveys after we resolve our support tickets. These tickets come in 2 hours after we close the ticket. So we have a 2-hour window to respond back to us in the event that there's any additional issues that may be occurring, or if there's any additional problems that pop up after we resolve whatever's happening. So after that, after the ticket is closed, the 2-hour window, all users receive a IT survey request. It asks, what you thought of the help, was it done in a timely manner, and if anyone wants to add any additional comments. 165 out of 166 of the survey response indicated a 5-star rating out of 5. So I think we're doing pretty well in the eyes of our users. So device management, this is how often and how close we are with current patching standards. We're at 99% patch compliance. Yes, Friday, I was talking to a friend who works for a private company that sells a product to do patch management for large national companies. And I told him that we're at 99%, and he said he probably has about 20-ish clients in their entire organization that have that sort of number. So that's an extremely high number, and it keeps us, a little more secure for zero-day or known malicious events that can potentially pop up within the city. Getting that extra 1%, we're getting updates, almost every half day for various software applications, Windows updates, and things like that. So I don't know if the additional 1% is very possible, but we're going to try to get as close to it as we can. So malicious domains, this is an application we use from the Center of Information Security. It's a malicious domain blocking, and it sits at our domain name service. And essentially everything that leaves the City of Saco network runs through this free service offered by CISA, CIS, whoever is funding it that year. And it blocks all known malicious websites, phishing websites, ad services, things like that. And we've blocked 14,069 events this year. And continues to be a free service offered from CIS. We'll stay on it as long as we can. I think the actual value of it is about $15,000. There are other additional things that we use from CIS, such as their, essentially their controls. So every year, I think they're on version 7-ish right now, additional controls come out, and we try to keep up with those. We're at about 84 controls of the 160 or so that are applied. The ones that we're kind of lacking are the ones that cost additional funding beyond anything here, and they're not extremely necessary for the City of Saco yet. One of them for an event is a red team type of event, so people that would come in and actually attempt to hack into our network and let us know what vulnerabilities they find. And then phish emails, this is our users. So our users reported 3,053 phish emails this year. So the number down below, initially we did a baseline test of all of our users, and we had about a 13.4% fail rate. This year, currently, we're at 1.5%, so that's a significant decrease. And that is 2.3% lower than all industries with no limits in how many employees they have. If we look at government with less than 200 employees, we're about 3.7% lower than them. So we're doing really well. And not only alerting the IT department of phish emails that are coming in, but also just identifying every other thing that can come in. So training has been excellent, and I'm really happy with how users are responding to this. So, achievements this year. We did get a 96.4% security awareness training completion rate. That's excellent compared to previous years. We want to get that up to 100%. I think we're only at 96.4 because we have some new staff coming on board within the next few weeks. We also have some boards and commissions that still need to complete the training. Once they complete that, we'll be pretty close to 100%. As long as we get that 100% rating, I think we may be able to apply that with our cyber insurance coverage and hopefully lower the rate, but it's unlikely with how things are going in cyber right now. With the help of the communications department, we created in-house training videos for troubleshooting, fish awareness, and I can't remember what the third one was. Our communications department worked on those for some time, and we were able to get those trainings down from 45 minutes of not super relevant information to about 5-minute type of just what we absolutely need users to know. And we've been able to get, a pretty high completion rate with that. We replaced a significant amount of our network infrastructure this year, and we've also added some protections on those devices themselves, as well as backups, alerting, all kinds of notifications and things like that. So we're getting more and more information, and we're able to utilize that to prevent issues before they happen. And as you can tell, the automation with responses and remediation, we're continuing to build on what we have for our current automation, and we're trying to get more and more things done automatically for users. And then the IT department completed about 3 certifications this year. We're going to continue to push those certifications within the department. My hope is we get people that we never have to contract out any services. A major kind of savings for us was our migration to Office 365 internally, which saved about $35,000 when we did that a few years ago. Coming up, we're looking at additional Teams efforts within Microsoft, and my systems engineer just completed the Teams certified engineer. So we're adding additional benefits by obtaining these certifications and having these people in-house being able to complete these tasks. So projects coming up in 2024, we're looking towards a phone replacement. We're kind of all over the place in age in our installed phones. There's some options out there that are full cloud. There are some within Teams. There are some that are local. There's on-prem. So currently, we're testing 3 different phone systems within the city. Public Works has a whole entirely different system. IT, or half the IT department, is on another, along with assessing. And then we have our current in-house phone system. So the hope is that we can replace phone system with no additional cost over the next few years. The hope is to just come in with the current funding and move forward with a new phone system with no additional funding needed. I think we can do it. So we're going to continue to improve our security controls. Salma, who's in the second picture there, she's working on a system called Wazoo, which is our security incident and event management. So essentially, it aggregates all the logs from every computer, switch, server within the network, and it kind of starts looking at things that are happening on our network that should be taking an eye out. Again, that's going to be causing some automation rules that are in place for alerting. Hopefully, we can get that stood up within the next, probably 6 or 7 months. And then we're going to be replacing most of our core server infrastructure. It is at its end-of-life support. So we can continue on with it. However, the manufacturer no longer provides us 24/7 phone support. We don't really want to be in that realm when servers start crashing and we don't have the ability to get these replaced. So we're going to be replacing this year. And one of the great things that we're going to be adding with it is the zero-touch provisioning. So we're able to just spin up servers within 5 to 7 minutes. So, questions, comments?
Thank you very much. Any questions for Director Panero? Councilor Gunn.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Director, for your presentation. I just had a quick, more of an informational question, sort of as a long-term thing, because I know you mentioned Microsoft Teams. I know a lot of people in a lot of organizations that I've interacted with are starting to move that way towards like their visual meetings and stuff. Obviously, we kind of fell onto Zoom default during the pandemic. Do you foresee that as being sort of our default sort of device that we use for any and all virtual meetings going forward, though, or do you think Microsoft Teams going forward what might be a better way to go? Just out of curiosity.
So I think the answer is going to be what's best for the situation. Internally, we have Teams with all of our Office 365 licenses, so all of our users will likely continue to use Teams as our internal kind of communication method. But, you know, Teams, not everything works for everything. So Zoom may be what's best for your council meetings. They may be what's best for other committees. I would try to push everyone to utilizing Teams. So we are somewhat limited in our ability to use Teams for everything because being a government agency, we're on the government cloud, so GCC high. And typically, we don't always get the latest updates for those applications until about 6 to 8 months after it's publicly available to like a home user. So yes and no. It depends on the situation. You know, if Teams doesn't work, then it doesn't work, but it would be the preferred method, yes.
It's just a follow-up, though. I mean, having a backup definitely is prudent for the simple reason, not only for the for functional purposes, but also because Zoom is so popular.
Yes.
Obviously, just to a year subscription to it, though, for the regular person, unless you use it, 5 times a week, though, it's a little pricey, though. So it's any way that we can save money, though.
Yeah.
Just give us a tutorial, and I think we'll be okay.
Yeah, Zoom kind of stepped up when like that was most needed. And they came through, I think they were, essentially kind of they were not first to market because there were others available, but they had an excellent team to push their product when everyone absolutely needed it. So everyone quickly became accustomed to it, Others are Google Meets, it all kind of depends on the situation. So, yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilor Hatch.
Thank you, Mayor Doyle. Nice presentation. I appreciate that. I just had one. First of all, I think the third training you forgot was memory training. So there you go. You have one of your goals for 2024 listed as increasing awareness of the technology tools, and I wholeheartedly support that. You may be a little bit more focused internally, understandably, but I think that, and we've already started to do this, I just hope we continue to do more of it, and maybe it's a combination of you and communications to work with our older population who still struggles with adapting to technology, not recognizing that there's a lot of information available to them that they may not be aware of. I continue to be the liaison to Age-Friendly Saco, so I would encourage you folks to continue to promote education at that level for those folks so they can get connected, particularly if you're rolling out more opportunities for the public to connect.
Absolutely.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
You as well. Up next is the Fire Department, and we're going to hear from Chief Duras.
Good evening, Mayor Doyle, City Council members. On behalf of the entire department, thank you for providing me with this opportunity to present the fire department budget for fiscal year '24. Our mission, our vision, and our core values. Saco is well served by a strong group of dedicated fire and EMS professionals who understand what public service is. I appreciate that they work hard each and every day to ensure that the citizens of our community receive best-in-class fire and EMS service. Beyond emergency response, we spend a lot of time in community engagement. These are some of our staple and signature programs. Our CPR classes, we're seeing increases in requests for CPR classes. And I think that has a lot to do with you may be aware of the national program for hands-only CPR. The other thing we're seeing is an increase for AED training. So a lot of businesses in Saco, I think that means they're bringing AEDs into our community. Those are automatic external defibrillators. So those are all good signs. Our fire prevention and public education activities continue to reach the community in the schools, daycares, medical care facilities, elderly housing, and businesses. In October, we returned to hosting our annual open house at the start of Fire Prevention Week. We estimate that we had about 800 visitors on that Saturday. Our second annual drive-through trick-or-treat was a huge success. I think it has something to do with location and being in proximity to Hillview Heights, but I'm not sure. For over 40 years, we have hosted the Christmas lighting of Central Fire Station and the visit with Santa Claus. And this year, the Firefighters Union partnered with the Call Division firefighters and Sweetser to make sure that 3 local families had holiday gifts. So with your support last year, we were able to hire 3 new firefighter EMS providers and raise our on-duty minimum staffing to 8. ARPA money is being used to fully equip the 3rd ambulance, enhance firefighter safety, and the build-out for our new first due records management system is expected by the end of June. We've made some significant investments in our people over the past year. Several firefighters obtaining advanced EMS licenses, firefighter and fire officer certifications. Our department has worked to strengthen our collaboration with other communities and agencies through our established mutual aid plans. On the right-hand side of the slide, I listed, this is the one and only place you see it. Our total incidents for last year was a little over 4,100. That's up from, let me stop, that's a calendar year 22. That's up from calendar year 21. In March, we assembled a couple of teams to work with Glennis and the grants team, and we filed 2 FEMA Assistance to Firefighter Programs grants. The first was a SAFER grant to obtain funding to help us get to our desired goal of minimum of 9 firefighters on duty 24/7. That's a 3-year grant for nearly $1 million. The second was a fire prevention and safety grant. This is a $200,000 request to replace the 30-year-old fire prevention trailer, along with some additional fire safety education training props. Both grants are highly competitive on a national level. We expect it's going to be late fall or maybe into the beginning of next calendar year before we hear anything on either one of those. Going forward, our upcoming projects and goals. For us, adequate staffing to address increased incidents is our greatest challenge. We appreciate that the city administrator was able to add 2 new firefighter EMS providers to his budget. These positions are supported by the 2018 comprehensive assessment of the Saco Fire Department by Municipal Resources. They will help us get us closer to the recommended on-duty staffing of 9, along with adequate administrative staff to support the firefighters and fire officers. Effectiveness and safety for the community and our firefighters can be improved when we are able to establish a 4-person company on the first engine to arrive at the scene. We also have 3 projects within the capital budget. The first is the replacement of Engine 4, the 1996 Ferrara pumper that is currently housed in Camp Ellis Station with a similar fire attack style vehicle. The second is to upgrade the public safety radio system in conjunction with the police department to ensure that responders have adequate safety. What's extremely important for us, and talking with the police chief, is to make sure that we can hear them and they can hear us. The third is making the connection of our first records management system with the new computer-aided dispatch program that the police department is working towards. Finally, we know that the assessment done by MRI in 2018 was based on data from 2017, almost 6 years ago. Much has changed since that time. To ensure that decisions are made on recommendations in that document that reflect current data practices, we will conduct an in-house review and produce a revised recommendations that reflect current and future needs of fire and EMS services in Saco. And that's all I have, but I'm certainly open to questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Chief Duras? Councilor Hatch.
Thank you, Mayor Doyle. Chief Duras, that last comment you made about revisiting the study that you had, I'm assuming that will likely take into consideration anticipated residential growth in the city and how that may impact your department. Is that correct?
Yeah, along with new growth, everything that's happened since late 2017, including, the population change and what's occurred in Saco and what we see coming in the next 5 years.
Good. I think that would be a very useful tool for us to have. And then my second and last question, with the 2 FTEs that you're receiving, is there a way to correlate that to the potential for ambulance billings? That might be revenue to offset the cost? Is there any direct correlation there?
I think Glenn has already fixed that.
Okay, good. And maybe it's in here. If I missed it, I apologize, but I think the public would like to know.
Yeah, all right, hopefully. Just to clarify, in the city administrator's budget, the cost of the firefighters was covered by an increased transfer of ambulance revenues, which is being funded through stronger. Oh, thank you. The increased transfer of ambulance revenues is being funded through stronger receipts on our billings, as well as implementation on our collections efforts, which we've had tremendous success with.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Chief Duras? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Up next is Human Resource and Fringe Benefits, and I believe we're going to hear from Director Roy.
Sorry, I'm a little shorter than everybody else.
So this evening, I'm going to start with the human resources budget, then move into fringe, and then right into communications. So I'll be up here for a little bit, but I can pause in between if you have any questions about each of those different departments. In fiscal year '23, the HR team continued to enhance departmental functions and the level of customer service for our employees. All 3 members of the department have obtained their SHRM certification, which is a professional designation related to competency in that industry. The team has worked hard to move the department forward, and I'm very pleased to share these metrics with you all. Our benefits specialist, Carolyn, has administered 31 leaves of absence to date, working with employees to navigate the complexities of situations that they're experiencing for these different situations that warrant utilization of the leave types. With the reorganization of the department last year, the addition of this vital position has increased employee satisfaction and trust in ensuring we're properly administering FMLA and other documentation. Our HR generalist, Casey Athens, has spearheaded our document management and record retention program. So you'll see here that we've digitized and managed over 1,000 records. She's worked hard to digitize and correct I-9s and overhaul our personnel files. We're in the process of managing files for our separated employees with a records management company. And Casey's attention to detail and organizational skills have been a tremendous asset to the city in navigating through that documentation. In addition, you'll see under recruiting, we launched a hiring module in Paychecks, which has enabled us to provide a better experience for the candidate as well as the hiring manager and provide better insights into where candidates are coming from, how quickly they're moving through the process, and some other data. We've received materials from over 900 candidates since July 1st when we implemented this product. From those, we've successfully placed 25 full-time employees, 19 seasonals, and 2 temporary employees. We have a few more employees who will be starting later this month, but currently the vacancies that we have, you'll hear from Brian in his admin update, we have a few seasonal positions that you'll see, so groundskeeper, lifeguards, different positions that we post annually. Those are just for the summer. We have a vacancy in the Public Works Department for mechanics, and then we currently have patrol officer vacancies in dispatch. But we've been able to successfully fill all the other vacancies that have opened up in the city. This year, we moved to employer-paid life insurance for employees, so we expanded it beyond only those enrolled in the city's health insurance. In addition, we were able to negotiate a favorable dental renewal and added copay coverage to our health reimbursement arrangement. Casey and Carolyn have worked hard to manage employee enrollments and benefits, so you'll see that with their impressive error rates, which has also yielded significant savings to the fringe benefits line. And then we've been partnering with Priority Learning to establish a professional development plan for our employees, which aligns with one of the council previous goals and directives from last year to invest in our qualified workforce. This retention strategy is useful, and the feedback from participants has overall been favorable, and we'll continue to identify and establish learning tracks for our employees that align with their career goals. In addition to some of the achievements mentioned on the last slide, we're in the final stages of setting up the new benefits module in Paychecks. Carolyn is in the auditing and testing phase of this product. This has been a huge undertaking. We appreciate her efforts in making benefits easier to understand and navigate for our employees. That came from one of the employee surveys that people just find it really difficult to read their paycheck to figure out what they're actually enrolled in. So we're able to respond to that. We engaged in a few audits in the last year. We audited our retirement plans for compliance, and then we moved forward with all the appropriate corrections with the IRS. We became very familiar with the fringe benefit guidelines and all the regulations that govern our retirement plans, and we worked with a great specialized attorney who works on government retirement plans. And then we also had a safety audit through our workers' compensation provider. And due to the partnership between HR and the other departments in last year, we were able to secure significant cost savings for the city for our workers' compensation insurance. We continue to partner with Amelia Foster on the city's wellness initiatives. So we've resumed lunch and learns. There are a few popular programs like the CSA Share, gym reimbursements, and then the annual employee appreciation event, to name a few. You'll see that's what's pictured here. And the entire HR department have obtained certificates to be mental health first aiders as employees continue to experience stressors in all facets of life. We've also continued to produce the employee newsletter with meaningful content for employees each month, and we've trialed a few performance management solutions and will continue to partner with administration and the various department heads on the best solutions for their respective departments. Lastly, we recognize our employees who reached 5-year milestones with the city again this year. We're partnering with administration and communications to try a new approach with recognition in the coming year, and we're exploring some add-on events beyond our annual employee appreciation event as well. More about FY24 projects and goals. We'll continue exploring creative recruiting strategies and partner with the communications team to develop effective creative elements and marketing videos. We are doing paid advertising through YouTube. We did a media buy for a recruiting video through one of the local news stations, and we just did a paid advertising on music streaming services and YouTube for the police department specifically. These are efforts beyond our standard recruiting. Since the wage and compensation assessment is more than 2 years old, we'll be reviewing classifications and salary placements to ensure these are still remain market competitive. And we'll be adding the union positions so that you can see everything together to account for any compression or pay equity concerns. And then we'll continue to explore different retention strategies in partnership with departments. I'm interested in bringing forward some additional retention tools that are related to our benefit offerings. However, we were unable to include them in this year's budget. So we'll continue to explore different solutions and partner with administration to bring them forward. But one of the focuses for us in a few of the departments that we're looking at is succession planning, trying to make sure that that's at the forefront so that we are accounting for the years ahead. And then exploring partnerships with local providers for fitness, wellness, and nutrition industries. We have a lot of those businesses located right here in Saco. So we're trying to partner with them to enhance our wellness offerings. And Amelia has done a phenomenal job, and we're excited to continue to work with her on this. And then lastly, we'll continue to focus on meaningful training, education, and professional development opportunities for our workforce that aligns with their different career goals. Do you have any questions about the HR budget before I move on to fringe benefits?
Councilor Berman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Director Roy. I appreciate it. I'm wondering about the succession planning that you talked about. Especially in the book, you talk about an aging workforce, the lack of redundancy, and you need to start engaging in succession planning. What does that look like, and how is that going to affect staffing levels and budget? And could you just explain that a little bit more?
Sure. So right now, what we've done, there's one department in particular that, looking at the initial projections, we will have, I think it was a minimum of 5 positions that are retirement eligible in the next 5 years. And what that would look like is in that organization, do we explore different ways for people to learn the jobs that may be supervisory now and have some overlap? Do we need to create any new positions to be able to offer some job shadowing and prepare for that? So we're at the stage of kind of identifying what are some of the different variables that we need to account for. Then we'll be able to come to you with a full succession plan and talk about what are the resources that we'll need to implement this, what have we seen in other places, trying to put together a full package for you of what different options might look like to help prepare for that. So we'll be partnering on a presentation with the city administrator, and that will come forward in a future meeting.
Great, thank you.
Councilor Hatch.
Thank you, Mayor Doyle. Just to dovetail on Councilor Berman, I think that as you move into succession planning, is a wonderful idea for future organizational development. I also very happy to see the various ways in which we're stepping out of the box to recruit. And I think that's a real plus for the city. But sometimes you might find an opportunity to recruit somebody who knows that there's a succession plan in the works and may be willing to make a lateral move for the hope that they may be part of that succession planning. So you might want to think about connecting those two dots if you haven't already. But I listen to people talk about trying to find workers in other industries as well. And the ones that step out of the box are the ones that seem to be gaining some traction. So keep it up and good luck.
Oh, thank you.
No other questions? I think we can move on to fringe benefits, and counselors, that's page 139 in your packet, in your budget book, excuse me.
So for fringe benefits, we'll just keep it really high level. So here were some of the changes that you would notice in this allocation. So we did implement the enhancement to the health reimbursement arrangement. So this is something that accompanies our health insurance to help account for any increased medical expenses due to inflation for some of those out-of-pocket expenses. We also managed the dental renewal, and we were able to negotiate a favorable rate for that. We ended up staying with Unum for this year, but we did go to market and explore all the different offerings to ensure that we were fiscally responsible and made sure we maintained the same level of benefits. So that was a success with staying with them. We also rolled out the basic life insurance coverage for all employees. So previously, that had just been tied to our health insurance through Maine Municipal Employee Health Trust. So it wasn't that many people to offer it beyond that. So we were able to absorb that with some of the other cost savings from our billing corrections. And in the union contracts and employee handbook, we worked with finance to allow employees to cash out up to 2 weeks of unused vacation time while also enforcing those vacation maximums that hadn't been enforced previously. So this reduced our employer obligation upon separation, but has also been utilized by a lot of employees. So that has had a favorable response. When I took on the role in HR, the council had tasked me with managing our costly workers' compensation claims. So as I had shared previously, we've established the return to work plans. We've prioritized management and mitigation efforts when somebody is out on leave, returning them to work. We've been proactive with our safety training and partnering with the safety committee on how to review different claims and make sure that we make necessary changes. And then all of these efforts, we've been able to reduce the cost of our workers' compensation insurance and maintain the Tier 3 designation through our insurance provider. Glennis, is there anything you wanted to add to fringe benefits line?
I just wanted to commend your hard work on workers' compensation. That really has been an extremely challenging line for us from a budget perspective, and it takes a lot of work to turn the ship on an insurance provision. So really great work on that.
Thank you.
Any questions on fringe benefits? No questions?
All right, we'll keep
We're ready
going.
to go on to communications.
So just to note, you'll see on this slide, this is a collection of photos that Andrew and Alex have taken throughout the year. This helps showcase some of the collaborative efforts of the different departments or supported entities or community organizations who we've partnered with. So between Andrew and Alex, they have covered 95.7 hours of city council meetings. This includes both pre- and post-production work that occurs behind the scenes as well. So they've been here with you all to televise these meetings. Our social media reach was 136,729, see, I'm not the finance person, unique account impressions between July 1st, 2022 and April 4th, 2023. So we continue to provide support for the police department as well for management of their social media channels. However, we've been partnering with them to have them take a more active role in managing that channel independently, so we did not include their count in this year's count. On YouTube, our videos have reached a total hours of content of 3,300. So if you haven't tuned into that channel, please do. We update content regularly, and please subscribe while you're there as well, as my one shameless plug, I promise. On our website, we continue to have favorable quality assurance and accessibility ratings. This year, we have made website content updates a focus for our team. So we'll be working with departments to enhance navigation for their existing pages and make sure that they're periodically reviewing content and making sure it doesn't get stale, so that it's meaningful and easy for our citizens to find. And then our e-newsletter continues to be an effective way to communicate with our community members, and our engagement also continues to be higher than industry averages. Some of the achievements for FY23 that I wanted to talk about today. So the community satisfaction survey, this was something that council had included in the budget process. And so with the council support, we were able to collect a snapshot of our residents' feelings at that point in time. We received 931 responses with a 3.12% margin of error and a 95% confidence interval. And we hope this data helped make some informed decisions. We were able to weave this in with some of the budget process and how we were prioritizing the allocation of funds. And we look forward to repeating this process every few years. And if anybody would like to view the results, they're up on our website, sacomaine.org/community survey, so that all the information is right up there. When and if the council decides to allow for hybrid meetings, we have all of the equipment ready to go. Our contractor, Stone Mountain Sound, helped provide a solution for this space, which you all know can be acoustically challenging, and we are trying to manage both a large group of potential in-person attendees as well as virtual viewers. So we wanted to ensure it's equally accessible for all participants, and so we were able to do that while staying within the designated ARPA funding. And this was an effort that was collaborative with IT, facilities, code, and public works. Everybody worked together to support the implementation of that. And then, so we work with all 14 city departments and many of the advisory bodies. So you'll see that through the social media content, website, some of these pictures, the e-newsletter, newspaper coverage. So just to showcase a few that you may have seen recently, we worked with the finance department on budget and mill rate explainer videos. So this is just offering a new way for people to follow along with a process that can be daunting or complex, or, you know, there's a lot of behind the scenes work. So we're trying to kind of lift the veil on that and give people a glimpse into what goes on behind the scenes. And we have had a pretty heavy recruiting focus by having HR and communications together. So we're really fortunate to have so much talent in-house where we're able to produce these recruiting videos in-house. We met with a recruiter recently just to gauge if there's anything that we aren't doing that we could do differently. And all the recommendations were in line with things that we're already doing, places we're already placing content, and the creative elements that we've gathered. So it was really refreshing to hear that we didn't need to spend $35,000 to have somebody, you know, give a recommendation for us to continue doing the same work. The Saco Signal is our internal newsletter. So we share different updates with our employees in addition to the external newsletter that you're all familiar with. And then I'm also happy to share that the departments received 3 national awards. Those are for a public service announcement, What You Might Lose, that was a PSA that we did with the police department. An educational instruction video, that was the fishing video that Ryan Pinero mentioned earlier. And then Photojournalist Portfolio Award. So these awards were earned amongst competition including large federal agencies, and this wouldn't be possible without that interdepartmental collaboration. So Alex, he'll be attending the Professional Development Conference next week, and we'll actually learn of our placement within the award rankings. And I just wanted to say congratulations to Andrew and Alex, as well as the departments who helped with this content creation. Andrew and Alex have so much talent and ability. It just continues to amaze me each and every day. So I'm really pleased with the work they do, and I think our community members are really pleased with the work that they're seeing. In this budget process, we did make a request to make the communications coordinator position full-time. This will allow us to continue to produce and distribute quality content across various platforms. We think that Alex has been a tremendous addition to the team, and we can't wait to see what he does with the additional hours, if there's council support to move that forward, bringing him to full-time. We continue to meet with the fire department to determine optimal emergency communication strategies and solutions. We have a few things in the works, so hopefully we'll be able to move forward with that somewhat soon and bring that to fruition. In FY23, we did do the audit of the cable franchise fees. I'm sure you all recall that, to ensure compliance with the existing contract. So we were able to secure the underpayment of funds for a portion of that. This continues to be something that we struggle with, but all the communities with expired contracts are going through the same challenges of negotiating a new contract with charter. So we've been exploring alternate ideas and different partnerships. So Andrew will be reaching out to the cable committee soon to schedule a meeting so we can talk through some of the alternate ideas and different partnerships that we might be able to explore to put some pressure on charter to move forward with a new contract. And it's always a goal of ours to improve internal and external communications, so we'll continue to work with departments to ensure that we're aware of things that are happening in the department so we can report that back out to the community members and make sure that we're sharing all the vital information that people want to know. Do you have any
Thank you
questions?
very much. Any questions for Director Roy? No questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Up next, we'll hear from the Planning Department, and that is City Planner Emily Cole Prescott.
So thank you for having me tonight. I'm really glad to be here. It's about 3 months where I'm back in the planning department, so I'll give you a high-level overview of some of our work here. Our guiding principles for this department are process, collaboration, communication, and transparency. I think these should be guiding principles for all planning practices, and it's something I've used in every place I've gone, and we're excited to operate under these guiding principles going forward. Some highlights for this fiscal year: we reviewed 90 applications. A lot of these are stats from the calendar year as well. That's just how our reporting system works. We reviewed 90 applications. That's across desks of Planning Board and Historic Preservation Commission, so keep in mind that our applications generally take several months to get through the process. We went to 45 public meetings where we were either running the meetings, staff liaison, or doing substantial work to make those meetings happen. We are currently helping out 5 boards and commissions. They are Long Range Planning Committee, Planning Board, Historic Preservation Commission, Bike Ped Advisory Committee, and Conservation Commission. So I want to thank our staff team, Lisa and Shannon, for all their work to make sure that we meet all of the deadlines that are constantly rolling. And over the last calendar year, 237 housing units were approved in Saco. I anticipate that we'll have more interest in housing going forward as things progress with LD 2003, which we already started talking about in February. We also did a number of commercial applications as well this past year. I do not have a hard stat on that, but you heard from the code office that there has been a demand for commercial development as well. Some of our fiscal year 23 achievements, I'm really happy to share. We're doing a lot of collaborations among all departments. I think that you've heard that from many budget presentations. So it's a great time to be in Saco. It's a great time to both live and work in Saco. So just want to highlight some of our new public signage that we've got going. So now every time there's a neighborhood meeting, we make sure that our sign goes out so that the public is really aware of what's happening. And then we have a public hearing sign, which is the one that our communications crew helped us out with. We updated our neighborhood meeting process, so we're now hosting more of those than ever before. It's a great way for our neighborhoods and residents to understand potential development that may be coming up in their area, and to also ask for any mitigating effects of that development, such as buffering, lighting standards, and things relative to the ordinance. We've heard a lot about traffic, and we've heard a lot about long-range planning in those meetings, and we've also heard some really great things, like recommendations for fencing that has been incorporated into plans. We've heard recommendation for trees, additional tree bufferings, that's been incorporated into plans as well. So it's been great going around and talking to different people from the neighborhoods. We also reorganized our long-range planning committee, brought them back online, so I want to thank you all for those of you who attended those meetings. Our comp plan was approved in March, so we're really happy to continue our implementation work on that. This long-range planning committee is transitioning from a comp plan committee to an implementation committee, so thank you for all your work there. There'll be more coming out from that group as we move forward. The planning department is now really set up as the iWork software enhancement department, so we help other departments get their iWork software. That's our internal permitting system to be able to make enhancements on that so that it can talk to all the different departments so we can all see each other's land use related decisions. And that's been crucial for our work going forward. One thing that I think is really important is strengthening compliance initiatives in the city. So looking at the last few months back, we actually prove about 1,200 to 1,500 compliance items a year that have to get followed up on annually. So even though there are some items that we hear about that haven't been followed up on, your staff is hard at work following up on the other 1,000 items that need to get reviewed. So going forward into the fiscal year 24, I've asked for a few things, and the city administrator's budget has supported that, so I appreciate that. The biggest thing, I think, is the traffic infrastructure plan. This is a collaboration with the Public Works Department, so Pat Fox and I will be working closely on this with Joe LaVerrier. The purpose of this is to look at our traffic system and see the impact fee system, kind of more holistically review it for the whole city. We are also looking at the master plan for Portland Road. There's not additional funding that we're asking for that, but there's money set aside in my contracted services line item from this year. That's why you'll see that money hasn't been spent. It's actually being held for a grant fund of $20,000 to match a $40,000 grant, which we're in the queue for. We haven't gotten final word that we have it, but that would be good grant funding for us if we do get it. The climate plan is ongoing with this Energy and Sustainability Committee. We've taken an active role in supporting that plan. That is actually grant funded with a $50,000 grant through the GOPIF office. We are looking at doing a housing action plan, which is a $70,000 ARPA funded plan, and that's in the ARPA funds already. And then we're constantly looking at standard operating procedures. So not only within our department, but also with our different boards and committees. How do we do things so that we can help make transitions when they happen a little bit easier? The last thing on here, last two things, interfacing more with our community. We're doing that with neighborhood meetings. Also doing some public outreach, and then the compliance division. I've asked staff to take more time that they don't have and work with me internally to create what we're going to informally call a compliance division. Our city administrator has put in $1,000 for that. We're going to look at, firstly, software enhancements. How can we make it easier to check the list off of these items that have to be followed up on? And then secondly, get the data that we need to see what it is that we need to support compliance moving forward, which will also take a look at what we may need for affordable housing compliance in the future. So I'm very thankful that the other staff are willing to work with me on this because it's a little bit of an unfunded division right now, but we're going to do it. So obviously a lot of planning's work. If we do something that's not in line with what other departments need done, if we don't consider a department review when we approve things, it creates problems just down the line. So we're very, very big on collaboration. These are the collaborators that we will have as we look forward. Of course, there's going to be more. And then we have the comp plan or council goal tie-in for each one of these studies and plans. I will tell you, these are not going to be shelved studies. I know I've heard that concern before. Saco does not have a lot of shelved studies. It's taken many years in some cases to make things come forward, sometimes 10 years. I was talking to some planners today. They did something that they saw come to fruition 14 years later. So it's not that it's shelved, it's just that sometimes it takes money and funding to make it go forward. The other thing that I'm grateful that we have some support for is to clear the stage. This has a lot of words on this slide. It's more for the public, so I hope you don't squint reading that. But clearing the stage initiative, if you go back there, our planning files are stored in a somewhat haphazard way. And what this initiative is about a $14,500 I'm asking for, which has been supported through the city administrator's budget. And that's really to get those files to an offsite storage facility that's approved to store those files appropriately, and also to box log and do some scanning of approvals. We won't be able to scan everything initially, but that's really for overtime hours for my staff is the bulk of it. And then an ongoing filing fee to cover the fees, the annual fee of storage there, as well as some pulling those files as well. We're gonna have to see how this goes for the first year. We may have a filing records fee next year, but at least for right now, we're gonna cover it in the budget. The rest of these we already really talked about. And our work really happens because we have a lot of dedicated volunteers and we have to collaborate with everyone. So we really look forward to getting out and talking with everyone about the different initiatives and concerns around Saco. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Planner Prescott? Councilor Hatch.
Thank you, Mayor Doyle. Emily, nice job. As excited as you are to be in this role, I can tell you, myself and many others are equally excited. I see you working on things that are going to be just so positive in a department that I think, real or imagined, had suffered from some disconnect from the community. So I'm really encouraged by where you're heading. I'm actually fatigued listening to all this work. I'm going to have to take a nap, but just keep going, and I think you're just going to bring some wonderful results, you and everybody else that's jumping on the bandwagon, so we appreciate that.
Well, thank you. And a lot of this is happening because all the departments are working together, so thanks.
Councilor Berman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm just curious about actually a specific line item in your budget, and I'm curious about the contracted services. Looks like there's been an administrative change of 25,000 up to 63,500. I didn't catch what that was for in your presentation. Could you just clarify for me?
Yeah, so that is the 25,000, so the traffic infrastructure plan, we're looking at a cost of about 175,000. We still have to narrow down the scope of work. These plans are pretty expensive because they're going to look at the city holistically. We're going to need a lot of traffic engineering time involved in that. So what that's broken out as is 75,000 through TIF funds. I have to check my notes here. 75,000 from ARPA funds, and then 25,000 from the general fund. So that 25,000 is to just increase so I can share in the cost of that. At least planning department gets hit a little bit for something that we're initiating.
Thank you. Appreciate the clarification.
Any further questions? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Up next is the Finance Department. And I believe we'll have a presentation from Finance Director Mathern.
Good evening, all. So a little look back at finance this past year. We've had 11,003 invoices and purchase card payments. We've received 47,552 customer service transactions taken by our finance clerks. We've had 20.1 million pay and benefits administered through payroll. We were able to invest 18 million with Morgan Stanley. There were 682 pages of reporting and policy review. This includes policies, annual financial reports, the city admin's budget, and the approved budget book. We received 2 GFOA rewards for excellence in reporting. This includes the annual certified financial report and the distinguished budget presentation award. We've had many achievements over this past fiscal year. Some of the major achievements include investment strategy. So due to our strong financial position, we were able to implement an investment strategy which generated $839,000 in new revenues. Employees were encouraged to use their P cards whenever they could for payments, and this maximized our P card rebates, and we received $37,000 in new revenues. Due to using a collection agency and the finance department sending out final notices, it improved the ambulance collections, which was over $200,000 in new revenues. We were able to improve capital planning process, increase grant funding by $5.9 million. And we went to market with the city's insurance carrier and ended with a $70,000 savings. Oops. Some of our fiscal 2024 projects and goals will be to monitor and collect AR monthly and also send out quarterly invoices for all our AR accounts. Complete online customer service, self-service. This will help ensure timely payments and less lines in City Hall and convenience for taxpayers and other customers. Launch ACI payments, which will maximize rebates, just like the P card. This will bring in rebate revenue. Due to the extra $15,000 that was funded, this will allow the grants team more opportunities to research grants. Another goal is for our ambulance revenues to be up to $95,000 monthly. We plan to continue working with our collection agencies and sending out reminder notices. In the past, capital planning started in January. Last year was October, but we're looking to move the start to July. And roll infrastructure assets into Munis. Finance and Public Works are working together for a complete list of assets and moving away from any spreadsheets that are currently being used. Any questions before it goes over to Glennis?
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much.
Welcome.
And now we'll hear from the Director of Budget and Fiscal Analysis, Ms. Salas.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to pick up from Director Mathern and take us through the rest of the presentation. I did want to say that Director Mathern has been a great addition to the Finance Department. She and I have really enjoyed working together over the last almost a year now, which seems very crazy. And I think our partnership has enabled the Finance Department really to move forward on things that have been on my to-do list since I started here. So that's been amazing. Also, before I get started on the rest of the presentation, I had meant to do this on my budget presentation night and I forgot. I do want to send a shout out to the communications department. The team is so talented, and all of the photos in the budget book, all of the photos, and many of the photos in these presentations are from that department and the talented design work that they bring to the table. So really grateful to be working with communications on enhancing the experience of both reading the budget book and viewing our presentations. Okay, taking it from there, the next section of this presentation is going to be covering other budgeting units. So these are budgeting units that don't fall neatly inside of one of the city's 14 departments. Supporting documentation for these data points can be found in section 5 of the budget book, starting on page 137. So first, we're going to talk about contingency. So contingency is the miscellaneous category of the miscellaneous categories, if you will. This covers items not budgeted elsewhere, including tax abatements, the Senior Tax Assistance Program, bank fees, and the miscellaneous line upon which the city administrator can draw for any unplanned expenditures through the year. A couple of highlights here. The city administrator did elect to reduce that miscellaneous line by $10,000 as a cost-saving measure in his budget. Bank fees were increased. This is to cover the investment fees that we pay to Morgan Stanley for their assistance in our strategic investment planning. Another thing in the bank fees is we did eliminate the online fee for e-check payments for those of you who may have paid your taxes online. If you were using an ACH or e-check payment, you were charged a $3 fee. That was passing on basically fees from our online processor. The city administrator did approve removing that fee, and the idea there is to improve the customer experience for our citizens, for those who can pay online, makes it much easier for them to pay, saves them a little bit of money, and also reduces the lines and foot traffic here in City Hall. So that's a better customer service experience for those who do come to City Hall. So I think all around a good benefit for our customers and anticipated to cost the city only about $3,000 a year. Once again, the senior tax program is fully funded to be a match to the state's property tax fairness credit. And tax abatements are budgeted at $100,000. I did review this amount with the assessor to see if there was any wiggle room to bring that number down. Based on some significant property value adjustments that we are looking at for this coming year, we decided the wise approach was to leave it at $100,000. However, $100,000 is still actually lower than what tax abatements have been for the last couple of years, so still a reasonable number for our taxpayers. Are there any questions on contingency? Okay. So this bar chart gives you a history of insurance over the last few fiscal years. In 2024, we have budgeted $200,710 for insurance, and this is your liability, your auto, your property coverage. Stepping back a few years, that dip in fiscal year 2020 was when I went through and reassessed the balance of school versus city portion of the premiums and rebalanced those to more accurately reflect how much of the premiums were due to school versus city liability. And then in the spring of 2022, we went to market with our carrier, and that resulted in cost increase avoidance of about $70,000. In 2024, the insurance premiums come down just a little bit versus 2023 because we have rebalanced the cybersecurity policy with the school 50-50. Any questions about insurance? City solicitor, so same bar chart, giving us a sense of how the city solicitor costs have moved over time. In 2024, we are holding the city solicitor budget flat at $157,286. We did assess where city solicitor fees were year to date. They are on track, so there wasn't a reason to increase that line. Commendably, the city has brought its solicitor costs down over the last couple of years. A part of that is due to properly allocating any TIF-related legal costs to those TIF districts, and partially simply reduced reliance on legal services. So good savings there for the taxpayer. Any questions on the solicitor? Okay. So a little bit about grants and reimbursements. So this is a recurring theme through the presentations. We heard from the fire department earlier. In terms of grants and reimbursements, there are some programs that the city participates in every year. Often the Bulletproof Vest Partnership is one, some of the grants that we get from the state for speed enforcement. Those expenses are not appropriated because the assumption is that any grant-related expenses will be directly offset by revenues within the fiscal year. If we are awarded a multi-year grant, typically the approach is to create a special revenue fund so we can reserve those funds between fiscal years, or we budget it within the capital fund, which of course retains its funds from year to year. Again, we're looking at about $5.9 million grant funding for fiscal year 2024. That number really is a team effort between all the departments. Certainly finance, we're looking to support the departments more in applying for those grant funding, but the lion's share of the effort, especially in project management, comes down to the department heads, and we appreciate their support on some of the grants that we've been awarded, and looking forward to getting more grant funding in the coming years. Are there any questions about grants? Lastly, supported entities. So the city supports a number of nonprofit organizations, boards, and commissions within its annual fund. The top 4 supported entities are Dyer Library, Biddeford, Saco, Old Orchard Beach Transit, Saco Main Street, and Age Friendly Saco. We will be hearing a little bit more from those top 4 supported entities on April 24th, 2023. The remaining supported entities will not be formally presenting to council, but they have all submitted written letters of support which detail the sorts of activities that they offer our citizens and provide some insight into how their services are complementary to the services that the city of Saco offers. Some additional information, just very high level. The Dyer Library does have an 11.5% increase. This is primarily to support COLA increases for employees and increased utilities. Of course, the library is struggling with the same electricity increases that we've experienced here at City Hall. There were no other increases for supported entities in the city administrator's budget, and there were no new supported entities in fiscal year 2024. BSUB Transit, or Biddeford, Saco, Old Orchard Beach Transit, is funded fully by TIF districts, as is Saco Main Street. Most of the remaining entities are supported by the general fund, except for some smaller entities that are also supported by TIF districts. For a detailed list of what is funded by where, again, that's in the budget book in the supported entities section. Are there any questions about supported entities? Great. So we are going to pivot now to the fee schedule, talk a little bit about fees. The fee schedule is included in full in the budget book in the revenue section in section 2. There were not very many changes to the fee schedule. The most significant is ambulance fee changes. So we were provided with market analysis data by our partners at Quick Med Claims, who handle our ambulance billing for us. And the assessment from that market analysis was that City of Saco was below the average for ambulance fees in our region and for similar medical providers. Therefore, we worked with the fire department and have put forward a recommendation to increase the ambulance fee by 10 points. So currently, the City of Saco bills 125% of the New England Medicare fee schedule. This recommended change would bump that to 135% of the New England Medicare fees. This change would affect primarily commercial payers because, of course, Medicare and Medicaid only pay what's in their fee schedule. However, we do believe that the incremental revenue is sufficient to help offset some of the increased costs, primarily of additional staff in the fire department. And so we're putting that recommendation forward to council to consider. Are there any questions about this fee change? Okay. The other fee change of note is the recreation fee. Director Summer talked about this in his presentation last Monday night. Summer day camp fees are going to be increased a little bit. This is to help offset minimum wage increases. And with that, I'm happy to take any additional questions. Okay.
Any questions on the fee schedule or anything that's been covered? Thank you very much.
All right. And I'm going to turn it over then to City Administrator Kainrath for the Administration Department presentation.
All right, thank you, Glennis. So our cover photo, you'll notice we have our saltiest Saco City employee featured here, who is a member of our department, actually. So I'll just tell you, this was on a little trip. He took a few of us out to Eagle Island in the bay. And so we were still on shore, and he was ferrying us back and forth from where we anchored. So this is when that picture was taken. You see Dan and all his glory here, so we appreciate him being part of our department and for taking us on that little adventure. So, as you can see, our org chart, and this changed, as you know, last year. Myself, Executive Assistant Tori Gorman, and Dan Chabburn, our harbor master, make up our administration department. So obviously, we manage all daily operations for the city over our 14 departments. We work on employee relations and personnel matters with HR. We meet with supported entities, advisory boards, commissions, and building, obviously, strong partnerships and relationships with all of those entities. Budget development and implementation we work on with Glennis, of course, meeting with members of the public, and, of course, business owners to resolve any challenges or questions they may have. A liaison between you guys and staff, clearly. And we also work with the mayor on agenda management for council. So our pie chart hasn't changed a whole lot over the years. We did add, obviously, the harbor master into our piece. So base pay was about 3/4 of our budget. Utilities for City Hall was the next biggest piece. Then you see travel, training, contracts. Fees and supplies, very small slivers of the pie. So in 23, as was mentioned before, we did work on some staff leadership development with priority learning, which has been a great success. I think most of our employees have really enjoyed that opportunity, and it's been a way for them to better get to know their colleagues and develop stronger relationships and partnerships across the organization. We worked on one additional contract this year, CBA, with the help of HR and Betsy Olton, as well as the department heads. We did the fire contract this year, so thank you to all of their efforts. The ACOE, Army Corps of Engineers project, is ongoing. As you know, we are continuing to make slow but steady progress in this effort, and we think 2023 is the year where there's some real rubber meeting the road after more than 20 years of talking about this. We're very hopeful. I actually sent an email out to you today just giving you notice that the project manager is going to be here a week from today to meet with us here, and then we're going to do a site visit down at the jetty, and all of you are welcome to attend that meeting if you would like. So again, we're making some real progress here after many years of talk, and I think this is the year we're actually going to see some actual ink on agreements and some real movement forward. We hired 4 new department heads in the past year. Tracy Desjardins in Economic Development, Kate Kern in Assessing, Emily Cole Prescott in Planning, and Jerry Mathern as our Finance Director. I also just want to take a moment to mention this. So as you see, four very strong women here hired for department head positions. We're now at half of our department heads are women, and that's the first time in the city's history that we've had this many in leadership positions. And so one more, we have a majority of women leading our city. So I just wanted to take a moment to recognize that, because it is the highest number of women in leadership positions that the city has had in our history. So thank you to all of them for their efforts each and every day. They're tremendous. Also, as was mentioned earlier, and I mentioned to you in my presentation a couple weeks ago, we've had really some great success in getting some cross-departmental working groups going on through various committees and working groups on a number of issues. And this is obviously, I think, when we do our best work, when we work together, and that's proven itself. And it's also, I think, again, allowed staff to build more and closer relationships with their colleagues who they may not always interact with on a daily basis, who may work in a different building or a different department. So that's been a tremendous success. Also, continue to do open office hours for the public to come in and speak with me. And we're working on file management. As Emily mentioned, we're trying to clean off this stage area behind the curtain. It is a big task, as many years of built up records, but we're making some good progress on that, and we hope to be able to repurpose this space. As you know, space in this building is at a premium into something more useful than just some junk storage in the back. So we're making some good progress on that also. Looking ahead to 24, we have some goals that, of course, we're always looking at: maintain an equitable and sustainable tax base, working with our economic development department, of course, to always make some strides there. We continue to work with the Army Corps of Engineers, and again, I think this is going to be the year we really see some good movement forward. Don't have to tell you about what's happening with our schools. There's some major projects happening there, clearly, and our city infrastructure. attracting and retaining a diverse businesses, quality jobs, and investment opportunities to really, again, keep working on building that tax base. We will continue with staff development opportunities through various means and continue to build that cohesive, well-oiled machine that we have here and we're lucky to have with the city. And I also want to take some time to particularly increase our efforts with public outreach and accessibility beyond just office hours here and what we do in working with the communications department, but even more ways to get out into the community and show ourselves and interact on a face-to-face, one-on-one basis with many of our residents and citizens out there. So there'll be a continued focus on that as well. That's all I have. Happy to take any questions, and appreciate your time and attention.
Thank you very much. Any questions for City Administrator Koehner? Councilor Hatch.
Thank you, Mayor Doyle. Just a quick comment, bringing forth a budget as well put together as this one, very nominal amount of increases. I can't imagine the amount of work that went into that, but I just want to thank you and the staff for all that effort.
Thank you. Appreciate that. And talk to some of our neighbors if you're not happy with our budget. Take a look around. Thank you.
That completes the budget presentations for this evening under the action item agenda, and that brings us to agenda item 10, and that is the administrative update. City Administrator Koehner.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Upcoming agendas. Next week will be our last week of presentations for the budget. We'll have Saco Main Street, the Dyer Library, BSOB Transit, Age-Friendly Saco, Public Works, and Assessing presenting. On May 1st, we'll have the public hearing where the public has their chance to offer their say on this budget, and also time for council deliberation. As I just mentioned a moment ago, our project manager for the ACOA project will be here a week from today, April 17th at 10 a.m. We'll meet here at City Hall. They go down to Camp Ellis and do an actual site visit. And this is, I think, going to be a great opportunity for us to have some real face time with her. It's been a while since they've been on the ground here. So anyone who's interested in joining us, you're welcome to. Just give me or Tori a heads up so we have an idea of numbers coming. A couple other quick updates. Our city playgrounds will be closed the week of school vacation for some needed replacement and upgrades that you may know about. With the exception of Burns School, that one will still be open for the public's use. Also, the dog park will be closed for the installation of the pavilion through April 18th. It may open a day or two earlier, but you can bet on it being closed through at least the 18th. My next city administrator's open office hours will be April 25th, 3:30 to 5 here on the second floor of City Hall. And of course, all residents and local business owners are welcome and encouraged to attend. Just a quick note on city positions. We are still very much in need of lifeguards. I talked to Director Summer today. If we don't recruit a couple more in the next few weeks, we will have to curtail some of the beaches we offer or previously offered guards on with the limited number of individuals we have. So our hope is to recruit at least 2 more in the next few weeks. So if you know anyone who's interested in being a lifeguard, please send them our way or to Director Summer. And we also have other open positions in Parks and Rec for a grounds worker, PD, a crossing guard, PD, an emergency communications specialist, PD, patrol officer, and a mechanic at Public Works. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions? That brings us to item 11, council discussion and comment. Any council discussion and comment this evening? Councilor Hatch?
Thank you, Mayor Doyle. I'd just like to reach out to Mr. Waugh, who stayed for the entire council meeting. I'm the liaison to the BSOB Transit, so I'd like to have a meeting with you after the meeting, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Any other council discussion and comment? That brings us to item 12 of the agenda, and that is adjournment. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Councilor Hatch, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Johnston. Any discussion on adjourning? Roll call to adjourn. Councilor Archer?
Aye.
Councilor Purdy?
Yes.
Councilor Gunn?
Yes.
Councilor Berman?
Yes.
Councilor Hatch?
Yes.
Councilor McPhail?
Yes.
Councilor Johnston?
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0 to adjourn at 8:04 p.m. Have a great evening, everyone.